everyone. Welcome. I love that beginning. How is everybody doing tonight? Welcome to A Stream by the Crossroads, our A Song of Ice and Fire reread, and we are on Clash of Kings, chapter 7 through 9. So we have a Catelyn chapter tonight. We have a Tyrion chapter, and we have an Arya chapter. And I hope you guys enjoy it, but let me first introduce my co-host for the evening, and that is Miss Martin Muses. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing very well, thank you.
I am glad to hear that. Yes, the Lord Spork is late. I apologize for that. We get chatting in the background and I lose focus. So I am glad you guys all were chill enough to wait for us. Let's see who we have here. We always have Makani. Makani is up in the house. So thank you, Makani, for being the best mod. I really appreciate it. Man, you got here early. And then we have Tina was, of course, the first person to say good evening, friends. Let's see who jumped in. Story man, Jack. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. First day off since before Thanksgiving. I guess that's why. Got to spend some time listening to A Song of Ice and Fire book club. I thank you, man. Story man Jack is a really cool dude. Has a really great channel, breaks down his own writing, other people's writing, does like writing workshops. So if you are not subscribe to him. He's also known as George B.D. Lucas on Twitter, one of the funnier guys out there. So please support him and shoot him a follow or subscribe and follow. And we also have Darren, like my father before me, saying evening all. We have Keck44 saying howdy. I love how, I got to also say, guys, thank you so much. I know some bigger channels are starting to stream on a night where no one else used to stream, thanks 2020. But I appreciate that you guys at least stop in and hang out with us for a while because it means a lot. Also, Lady Tauriel, you are more than welcome to come on the show if you have time because you are part of this panel. Saying her hello. She's a wood elf. We all know that. And who else? Anybody else? Runner jumps in here. Runner has a great channel too. Check him out. And another channel person. We have Moria Kitty. How are you? She's leaving trails, I think. She's leaving trails. And as always, Miss Martin Muses with her flower and hello. So what is going on? How did you feel about these chapters? Did you get a chance to reread them? I kind of skimmed through them this week. I've been busy, so did you get a chance to read them?
Yes, I was going to say, because I don't reread, I read them. Yes, I did. And then I was feeling really awful because I wanted to keep reading because it was Sir Davos or whatever was next, but I didn't have time, so.
No, love Sir Davos. Love him. Good chapters, right? The Arya chapter seems kind of like redundant. They're just kind of going through and telling you about what's going on in the Riverlands and kind of feel like that's more of like a filler one, but there's some good information in there. Tyrion's a good chapter. Catelyn is Catelyn. How do you feel about her?
Well, I like her better so far in these ones because I think that I don't know, maybe since Ned got his head chopped off, she's a little more cautious.
She might have learned a lesson.
I learned it a little too late now, didn't she? He's like, well done, You got your husband killed.
Yeah, it took your husband getting killed and oh no, that hasn't happened yet. But yeah, her husband being killed for her to maybe start thinking. I actually think that's a good Catelyn chapter to show a better side of her. It's also a good Tyrion chapter, to show the difference. I think, okay, let me put it this way. I think there's characters in the book that in the show, you're going to see differences in these chapters. There's some really big differences in one or two of these chapters than how they did it in the book. So it's kind of interesting and we'll go over that when we see it. But we will start if you are ready. I believe you said you have the summary for Cat.
Yes, I did dibs on the witch.
Yes, you did.
or not the witch. It's really hard for me to continue to separate the show from the actual book, and
Right.
I'll mention that a little bit later when I get to the chapters with himself, or herself. She's dressed as a boy, but with Arya,
Yeah. Okay.
it is affecting things. So, oh my gosh, I swear the pop-ups on this. I love this website. I love a wiki of Ice and Fire, but
oh my God, but the pop-ups.
Oh my gosh. I'm about ready to go the Red Wedding.
Yeah, I have to say that. I guess that's the only way they make money is their ads. So for anybody that doesn't know, what we do is we usually, we'll reread the chapters or read like Miss Martin Muses is doing for the first time. We try not to spoil anything ahead of the book we're on. Really, we try to spoil nothing past the chapters we're on, but sometimes that's a little harder to do. But we'll never go. So we'll only go with a Clash of Kings and a Game of Thrones. No discussion of anything that we all know. A lot of us know happened via show or books. But we do get our chapter summaries that we read from Westeros.org. And that's a great website for information about, it's like the wiki of Ice and Fire, but man, the pop-ups can be a pain in the ass. I'll give you that. I will give you that. Yes. So whenever you are ready, we shall do it. I just want to say hello to Memes of Destruction, Brutal Morningwood, The Time Prophet, Comic Chat, my man. You guys are not subscribed. This man is not afraid to speak his mind. He attacked me on a show, Chris Knight's show, because we disagree. He's a big fan of The Mandalorian. I am not. And I respect the man because he is not scared to speak his mind. And I love him. Danny's great. So if you guys aren't subscribed to Danny, check him out. But we are going to go now with, with the summary. And then, yeah, I know pop-up blockers. I've heard of those things. We will see what we find here. And I know Lady Tauriel said she's going to jump in when she can. And also we might get a Christie sighting in a little bit. So that'll be nice. So take it away.
Here we go. As they wait in River Run's Great Hall, Catelyn watches her son Robb restlessly adjust his new forged crown several times and remarks to herself that a crown is not easy to wear, especially for a boy of 15 years. The ancient crown of the Kings of Winter was lost 3 centuries ago when some guy Stark submitted to Aegon the Conqueror. But the smiths have done well to match the descriptions, an open circlet of hammered bronze surmounted by 9 black iron spikes in the shape of long swords. There is no gold or silver or gems. Bronze and iron are the metals of winter, dark and strong. As the guards bring in the captive, Robb lays his sword across his knees in the customary gesture of hostility. As Sir Cleos Frey is forced to his knees, Catelyn reflects that he does not look like a Lannister. Although his mother, Lady Jenna, is sister to Lord Tywin Lannister, Sir Cleos has inherited the stringy brown locks, weak chin, and thin face of his father, Sir Aemon Frey. Robb's sword glimmers faintly as he bids Sir Cleos to rise, but it is Greyrind who frightens the night. As big as any elk-hound, Robb's direwolf sniffs at Sir Cleos, who was captured in the Whispering Wood where Greywind killed 6 men. Sir Cleos scrambles to his feet and away from the direwolf so quickly that it provokes laughter from the audience. Sir Cleos thanks Robb, calling him my lord, but Great Umber corrects that a king is styled your grace. Sir Cleos accepts the correction, and Catelyn notes that he is truly more Frey than Lannister. They would never have gotten such an honorific out of Jaime Lannister. Robb wishes Sir Cleos to be his envoy to Queen Cersei in King's Landing. Robb reminds Sir Cleos that he considers him a Lannister, not a Frey, since he sided with the Lannisters in the Whispering Wood. He therefore expects Sir Cleos to return with the Queen's reply and resume his captivity. Sir Cleos vows on his knighthood to do so and asks what the message is. Robb offers to make peace if his and his terms are met. At the back of the hall, Lord Rickard Karstark shoves through a rank of guards and out the door, but Robb pays no attention. Exchanging his sword for parchment, Robb reads his terms. First, the Queen must release my sisters and provide them with transport by sea from King's Landing to White Harbor. It is to be understood that Sansa's betrothal to Joffrey is at an end. When I receive word from my Castellan that my sisters have returned unharmed to Winterfell, I will release the Queen's cousins, the Squire Willem Lannister and your brother Tion Frey, and give them safe escort to Casterly Rock or wheresoever she desires them delivered. Secondly, my lord father's bones will be returned to us, so he may rest beside his brother and sister in the crypts beneath Winterfell, as he would have wished. The remains of the men in its household guard who died in his service at King's Landing must also be returned. Third, my father's great sword, Ice, will be delivered to my hand here at River Run. Fourth, the Queen will command her father, Lord Tywin, to release those knights and lords, bannermen of mine, that he took captive in the battle on the Green Fork of the Trident. Once he does so, I shall release my own captives taken in the Whispering Wood and the Battle of the Camps, save Jaime Lannister alone, who will remain my hostage for his father's good behavior. Lastly, King Joffrey and the Queen Regent must renounce all claims to dominion over the North. Henceforth, we are no part of their realm, but a free and independent kingdom as of old. Our domain shall include all of the Stark lands north of the Neck, and in addition to the lands watered by the River Trident and its vassal streams bounded by the Golden Tooth to the west and to the Mountains of the Moon in the east. After a cheer from the Great John, Robb states that he will provide a map of the new borders. He declares that Lord Tywin must cease his raids and withdraw. King Joffrey must rescind all claims to Robb's land and subjects, and Lannisters must deliver 10 high-born hostages as a pledge of peace. Robb promises to release 2 hostages every year so long as the pact is honored. But if it is not, he will give Queen Cersei another Whispering Wood. To emphasize his point, Robb whistles and Grey Wind comes forward and snarls. The Great John raises another cheer and the Grey Wind howls. When Sir Cleos agrees, Robb orders him to depart with Sir Roger Rhaegar at first light and dismisses the assembly. Out in the gallery, Catelyn compliments her son's performance, but notes that the theatrics with Grey Wolf benefit a boy more than a king. Robb only smiles and asks if she saw Sir Cleos' face. Catelyn replied that what she saw was Rickard Karstark storming out. Robb admits he saw it as well. Catelyn's brother, Edmure Tully, comments that others may agree with Lord Rickard and ask how they can talk of peace while the Lannisters are still pillaging the Riverlands. He urges Robb to march on Lord Tywin at Harrenhal, but Robb insists he does not have the strength. Edmure points out that they only grow weaker sitting here. Catelyn snaps that it was Edmure's idea to permit the River Lords to depart for their own lands. Edmure argues that he cannot command his lords to remain idle while their crops are burnt and their people killed. But it would be an ill thing if a Northman like Lord Rickard left him. Robb agrees to speak with Lord Rickard, but he cannot blame the man for loathing peace with his son's killers. Catelyn points out that more bloodshed will not bring back the dead. She suggests a wiser man may have offered sweeter terms, but Robb declares that sweeter terms would have gagged him. Catelyn realizes that her son wants vengeance as much as Lord Rickard. Catelyn points out that Cersei will never trade Sansa and Arya for a pair of cousins when what she wants is her brother Jaime. Robb explains that his bannermen will never allow him to release the Kingslayer, even if he wanted to. Catelyn says the lords made Robb their king, but Robb replies that they can unmake him just as easy. Catelyn argues that the safe return of the girls is worth Robb's crown, fearing for her daughters if something bad should befall Jaime in their custody. Robb assures her that no one sees Jaime without his warrant. Catelyn asks if Robb is afraid to face Jaime in the field again. Edmure sides with Robb, but accidentally refers to him as the boy. Robb roars at Edmure not to call him a boy and declares he can defeat Jaime again if he must. He admits he would have traded Jaime for his father, but looked hurt when Catelyn presses him to say whether the girls are important enough. Catelyn realizes that Robb is doing his best, yet she cannot bear the thought of losing her daughters as well as her husband. Robb promises that if Cersei refuses peace, he will do all he can for his sisters by making her rue the decision. Catelyn can see Robb is tired of the subject. He asks her to go to the twins to meet Lord Walder Frey's daughters and help choose his future bride. Catelyn sees this as an excuse to send her away for saying things Robb does not want to hear, so she tells Robb he is old enough to choose for himself. Next, Robb urges her to accompany Theon Greyjoy and the Mallisters to Seaguard and return by ship to Winterfell to be with Bran and Rickon. Catelyn insists that until her father dies, her place is at Riverrun. Robb mentions that he could command her to go, but Catelyn counters by asking Robb to reconsider sending Theon as his envoy to Pike. Robb asks who would be better to negotiate with Lord Balon Greyjoy than his son. Catelyn insists that anyone would be better. Robb argues that Theon fought bravely for them and they would have need of his father's longships. Catelyn replies that they will get the ship sooner if Theon remains a hostage. She also insists Balon is not trustworthy and may aspire to wear a crown again himself. Robb declares he will gladly give Balon a crown if it helps defeat the Lannisters. Before Catelyn can reply, Robb walks off and Catelyn can only watch him go, remembering back at Moat Cailin when she urged him to command as he does now. Catelyn asks Edmure to join her in her father's sick room, but he begs off to speak with some new recruits. On her way to the central keep, Catelyn shortcuts through the Goswood, where the leaves still rustle on the trees, ignorant of the white raven that has proclaimed the arrival of autumn. Catelyn is thankful that the weather is holding, since autumn is a fearful time, when even the wisest never know if the next harvest will be the last.
Why don't we pause there, Teresa?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of that. Yeah,
this is a real long one.
It's changing subjects.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a perfect place to break, and then we can go back and finish that off. But where'd she go? We had Teresa. I don't know where she went, not Teresa. I'm sorry, Lady Tauriel. But we can introduce the one and only, first of his name, Stig Baratheon Kenobi.
Hi. I don't have that thing in front of me now, so I'm just gonna say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, my friend.
Bastards.
You bastards. I've missed that. God, it's been too long. Thanks for being here. And Lady Tauriel is in the house. She just wanted a better seat of honor, so she popped out and popped back in. How are you?
I'm fine. Waking up. That's why I usually haven't been on lately, because this is about the time I wake up.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, well, just so you know, I might even be pushing this a little later, starting next week, but we will see. But you guys caught some of that summary. I don't know if you heard all of the summary, but we are in a Catelyn chapter, her first chapter of the book. Teresa, what did you think so far with that summary and the chapter that you read? What's going on with Robb and Catelyn and everything that you've read so far?
Well, I was really struck by how in a few scenes we saw a state of things that maybe aren't the best ever. When the Rickon dude leaves in the middle of that, I thought that was very significant. And the fact that Robb is kind of trying to ditch his mama.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that she then herself is seeing he wants me gone. I'm not who I need to be. I'm not that special. And I was wondering if she pulled I can't go anywhere until, daddy dies. Was that an excuse? Because my first thought was, oh my gosh, woman, go be with your little boys.
Right. Right. I'm with you that with I think it definitely is an excuse. She believes it's very important for her to be with Rob to have, because she knows that the Lords, with the death of Ned, she knows Lords are still, even though they, elected him and promoted him to king, that they're still out. They're more willing, or what's the word I'm looking for? They're more likely, now that Ned is dead, to try to advance their own station. So I think she's there to protect him from them, but also to give him counsel, which her counsel is very good. It's just that kings, I think they say it in this, I don't know if I'm right, Stig, but they say kings do not have mothers. Something to that effect. Like her being
no,
there weakens him.
I have a mother.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But does he feel like having her there weakens his rule as king? Like he goes to his mommy for advice. That's what I kind of think.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too.
The only advice you should get from your mom is, if you need to clean your clothes by yourself or something.
What cycle to go on? What do you think, Lady Tauriel?
I disagree. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfectly.
Okay. I disagree. I think she's trying to hold on to him because she will see him as a child forever, just like mothers do. And she is holding out, but yet she sees him pulling away. And she's realizing she's losing a lot of the pull she had because he's becoming more Ned's child than her child now because he's growing up to be a man.
Oh, I like how you put that too, because she raised them as Tullys. She did not try to raise them as Starks. So that's an interesting take. Like she introduced the Seven, where that like Sansa believes in the Seven, while the other kids duel kind of with the old gods and the Seven. So that's very interesting.
Good point. Though I almost sympathized with her when she was his 15 years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's 15.
Right.
I mean, he's a teenager with just getting acne, It's like,
right.
Oh my gosh, he's the king. He's in charge of this army. And there was a part of me that's like, wow.
Well, again, that shows you the difference between the books and the show. The show, a lot of the kids are 4 to 5 years older than they are in the books. I mean, they are all quite young. He is the second oldest Stark at 15, and Jon is barely a little bit older than him. So everybody else is just so young. And you're right, to be 15, and he's doing exactly what she said to him prior in the last book was, you must be a king. You must rule like a king. And to do that, he has to stand his own ground like a man. What did you guys think about his... And also, before I ask that, it's Torrhen Stark who bent the knee to Aegon. So his name's Torrhen Stark. I know the spelling of things with George, you never know. But yeah, he was the king that bent.
Torrhen Square is probably named after it.
Yes. I like that. You're absolutely right. So what did you guys think of his plea deal? With him sending this envoy and a prisoner with the terms. What did you think of the terms? Were they too harsh? Were they right? Not enough? Anybody could take it.
I thought they were pretty good. There was a part of me though that was thinking, I get to have 10 hostages from your highborn. And I was like, wow, sucks to be you if you're the one being chosen. It's like, you wake up for breakfast. It's like, we need some highborn hostages. Sorry. And then the whole idea that every year of 2 will be released. It's like, wow.
Right.
But on the other hand, they have his sisters.
Right, which are not a good bargaining chip for the Lannisters, at least in Rob's mind. He even says, I would have traded the Kingslayer for my father, but he can't do it for his sisters. They're just not worth the prize. In this feudal system, 2 girls are not worth as much as the Kingslayer.
Yep.
Even though he's not the heir anymore because he's a Kingsguard, he still is a huge part of the Lannister family.
Yeah, and especially because even Catelyn seems to know he's a little bit special to Cersei.
Exactly. Now, I thought it's interesting because he's asking for them to take almost more than half of the continent and give it to the North and be good with that. Because it used to be, the neck and up is Stark's land, but because now you have the Riverland involved in it and they now support him as king, it's all the way from the Erie through the Riverland, and then up north. That is a huge part of this country. And for them to accept those terms, I just can't see that ever to happen.
No. Almost like the way it was in the TV show, the way it's like, okay, right, take it. And it's like, really? That seems... Now, what I want to know is, did Rob expect these to be accepted, or maybe that he was thinking some of these he could let go?
I would think, okay, so he wants Ice back. He wants his father's bones. What else was he asking for that he can actually be like, all right, I can wiggle a little bit with this? Because I think he feels like he's coming from a place of power and strength after winning only 2 battles, but he did win 2 very successful battles. He wants his dad's bones, the ice, Lord Tywin to stop attacking people. Everything there, I can't imagine him saying no to. Like if they said, okay, we'll proclaim you the king, but not the Riverlands. You could only have the North. Would he let half of his subjects go?
I
don't know. No, right?
No.
Lady Tauriel?
No. I think he already knew what the answer was, but he had to put something out. So if you're going to go for it, you go for it all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, they would never accept those terms, right?
And like you said, he was feeling puffed up after winning the battles. So he felt that he was invincible right about that time.
Right. Using Grey Wind too, right? Using Grey Wind to stress the point.
Yeah, and to me, in my eyes, that was kind of what a 15-year-old would do after a battle. Think about it. If you win a fist fight,
oh hell yeah,
all puffed up, think about a battle and becoming king.
Yeah,
and having all that power. So he already knew what the answer was going to be, and he actually did not want them to accept because he wanted vengeance for his father.
Real quick, Lord Crackenhead said the North is bigger than the other 6 combined. I want to say it's almost the same exact size. I got the map back here now of Westeros, and the North is quite large, quite large to the neck up here. But adding the Riverlands definitely makes it bigger than the rest of the country if you add the Riverlands. But I want to say the North itself, landmass, is very close, but it's not bigger than all of them combined. I want to say it's very close, though. What would you say, Stig?
Yeah, from well, if you assume the top of it is the wall,
yes,
then it's pretty much about the same size.
Yeah, you think about, right?
Yeah. Tear down the wall, though, and you have 3 or 4
double
times
the size. Yeah, easily.
Yeah, we don't know where it ends. So which, by itself, if you have that big a landmass to cover and protect, you're already stretching your forces big time. If you have to stretch that to cover the riverlands as well,
right,
you're in trouble.
Yes,
there's not enough troops.
Well, let's also say you also see some of his bannermen not happy with what he offered for peace. The Karstarks, which is, so if anybody ever wondered, the Karstarks are a lesser branch house of the Starks. So originally a Stark left, maybe like a second or third son, and started his own house, which is the Karstarks. So they are closely related to the Starks, and they're upset. Now, you got them upset. Who else underneath them are part of their crew? So Robb is trying to sue for peace, knowing that one of his loyal bannermen will never accept that because his son was killed by, or his sons were killed by Jaime Lannister. He's got a lot on his plate. That's all I'm saying. He's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, and it's all of it happened suddenly as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In a short span of time, which is and he's 15. Imagine having to deal with that right now, right? Your life is going well or whatever, and then bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also, Lady Tauriel, what do you think about this? You got Edmund Tully telling Robb, we have to attack Tywin at Harrenhal, one of the most fortified, even though it got burned down in parts by a dragon, it is still one of the biggest castles, because we're starting to get weak. And then you have Catelyn snapping back saying, well, then why'd you let your, bannermen go to fight in their own battles? There's a lot going on in that little back and forth there. What do you think is the right strategy? Is Robb smart to say, no, let's sit here for a little bit? Or should they attack? What do you think?
I think he did the right thing. Attack right then makes you vulnerable just because of the mindset that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge. Revenge is great to give you strength in a fight because you put all your energy into it, but it also takes away from your mental abilities because you're focused on the revenge, not the strategy part of it.
Right. Which Tywin is a great, when it comes to strategy, Tywin's one of the best. And you have a 15-year-old trying to match wits.
Yeah, and strategy and soldiers beats angry men every day of the week.
You're absolutely right.
Especially in medieval combat.
Yep.
Nowadays, if you're angry and have a nuke, you win.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a high-powered rifle in the right position. You might have a very good chance. My question, too, is we just had Lord Krakenhead 33 say, heavy lies the head that wears the crown. Mm-hmm. And that's a perfect statement. I mean, even at the beginning of this, Catelyn remarks on how Jon is uncomfortable, wearing the crown.
Yep.
Oh, I have a quote. I came up with one.
Okay.
Heavy lands the severed head that wore the crown.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yes. Well, and how badass was that crown? I really liked the crown. I like the aesthetics of this stuff. Just the way that the symbolism and the way they described it and the way it sounded very Starky. Like it wasn't pretty, it wasn't flashy, it was brass and all that. I thought that was really cool description.
Actually, I'll read the description again.
Yay.
Robb's crown looked much as others sorry, I have to take off my glasses to read. Rob's crown looked much as the other was said to have looked in the tales told of Stark kings of old. An open circlet of hammered bronze, incised with the ruins of the first men, surmounted by 9 black iron spikes, wrought in the shape of long swords. Of gold and silver and gemstones it had none. Bronze and iron were the metal of the north, dark and strong to fight against the cold.
Nice.
To fight against the cold.
And given the material,
Bronze and iron.
Lord Crackhead's quote is accurate, because that one does sound damn heavy.
Right. But I always wondered that last statement. You know, bronze and iron were the metals of winter. Excuse me, I said the north, but it's of winter. Dark and strong to fight against the cold. I wonder if, you know, like bronze and iron put together have a better chance at defeating a certain enemy than it would without.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about.
Yeah.
There was 1 or 2 other things. Anybody have anything while I look for another question I had?
I noted some of the ancestry stuff where, gosh, I guess Frey was making everyone marry into his family.
Valid point.
Yes, the Tywin sister.
Yeah, she's a Frey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like how you said that, because look at the Freys and look at the Lannisters. Now you have a great house, and the patriarch of this great house, the Lannisters, rules. Everyone knows he is, you know, what he says is Bible. And he puts so much emphasis on family, even though it's probably more about him. Then you look at Frey, not a great house, but a lord in his own right, who runs his family, and everyone knows his, you know, his will is what is going to be. But is he loved? I don't think so. It's almost, they're like mirrors of 2 different levels of lordship. You know, these large families, these married into all different families. It's kind of funny to see the relation, but also what makes them different.
Well, and Frey made a big fuss about how they kind of look down at him, almost like they're the poor cousins, or the you know, the trash in the family no one wants to talk about. Like that, they look down on the Freys, but they want them because of their bridge, essentially.
Can I just say another monster that's hilarious? Like and share the stream. Like Tyrion's first wife. That is horribly right and horribly wrong. True revenge might make you feel strong, but if your head ain't in the game, game over. Exactly. There was a couple other things. Oh, Edmure Tully calling, you know, Rob boy. And Rob, see, that's what I like about that, because in the show it seems like the Blackfish is really like the one that cracks back at him, and Rob takes it very calmly, but Rob actually snaps back at him. You know, like, who are you calling boy? I'm the king of this, you know, I'm your king. Again, a 15-year-old boy whose father was a lord, not a king, is now a king. How fragile is this alliance with everybody?
Yeah. It's crazy. Not to spoil a book ahead, but I think that we can see how quickly it all comes crumbling down now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It makes me confirm, as I always say, that if I had lived in the Middle Ages, which this is supposed to monitor, I would be a nun so fast you wouldn't believe it.
Smart.
Yes, get the heck out of there. Or like those Silent Sisters. It's like, just stay away from all this. It is, the Game of Thrones is such a dangerous game to be in. And if you are a noble, and if you are a king or a prince, you're in danger constantly.
And that's the connection. Oh, go ahead, Lady Tauriel. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Hatred stem from generations past, and they don't let it go. It is passed on and on and on.
Hatfields and the McCoys.
Yep.
That's valid. You're absolutely right too. There's houses that hate each other that don't even know why. They were raised to dislike each other. I like how Lord Krakenet brings this up. Iron longswords have been laid across their laps to keep restless spirits in the crypts, or something like that. I think it goes. And he's right. One of the, and he did it with Tyrion too. He laid his long sword on his lap, and that means you will not receive hospitality here. This is an aggressive act, laying my sword across my lap. Well, we also have the crypts where the swords are laid across the laps of the kings of the north and lords of Starks, to keep vengeful spirits, they say, in. But it's iron. And again, iron is a metal of winter, and it's strong to fight against the cold. I really think I've never realized how important I think that phrasing about the crown is to the end game of this.
Yeah.
It all connects. It all connects.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the North and the whole country really has so many houses, so many families, and if you want to keep an alliance, all it takes is for one person with some power to have some grievance with someone else for it to crumble. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the scary thing. It could just fall apart. Go ahead.
Which maybe it does.
Yeah. Plus the fact that you have to look at all the little things that George puts in there. To me, it's always the little things that have great meaning.
And it's such a little forgettable line he'll put in that 4 books later, you're like, oh my God, he was setting it up then. Like it's amazing. You really, reading these books once, you'll never get the full effect of the books. You may read the 5th book and see how something ends, but you never really realized how far back it started. And we get a couple of those in these chapters that we're reading tonight. Again, I think that crown one is a very important line. I hope someday it comes back and we can be like, we said so. There was another thing. Oh, Robb sending Theon, Catelyn going against that. What do you guys think about that? So Theon's going to be sent to Pike to, barter with his dad to get his longships.
Well, who knows? Maybe Catelyn was right. I don't know. Maybe for once she was right. Theon is a bit of a psycho, and his dad's probably no better.
Now, do you see it, Miss Martin Muses, from Robb's point of view, though?
Yeah, that's a hard thing because I have seen the show. I know what ends up happening,
right?
But I can certainly see it from his point of view because he does know that he does need those ships, and from what I understand, Theon was almost raised to him like a brother. It wasn't in his sphere of thought that this is a captive and maybe someone who has loyalties to other situations, because that's all he's known. And he had no reason to fear perhaps leaving him, or maybe he even thought, I don't know, that because it's all over with now, all the stuff with Robert being dead, he doesn't need to be a hostage. Yeah.
Right. You got to say, Eddard treated him better than most hostages are treated. Like part of the family. So I agree with you on that. Lady Tauriel, what do you think? Not jumping ahead too far, but You know.
Okay, I will only say this: beware of wolves wearing sheep's clothing.
There you go. I like that. One thing I do have to bring up, and it's bothered me the first time I read this chapter, it bothered me, and it bothered me again when we just went over it. What is one of the last commands Ned tells Catelyn? He says, tell Robb he may need, Balon's longships and to keep Theon close. Do not let him out of your sight because you might need to use that hostage to get the longships. And Catelyn says everything like, oh no, you could send anybody but him, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't she just say, this was your father's dying? The last thing he said to me was this. Why wouldn't she just throw that out there? I think that was her biggest mistake, personally.
Well, maybe she forgot.
Oh, that bitch.
That could happen. Still, she hasn't been the most competent character through the story so far.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say she doesn't pay a lot of attention to the children and the interactions of the children like Ned did.
Right.
Good point.
Very good point.
Well, and she also ignored the other thing he told her, right? Didn't she was supposed to go and rally the North? Apparently
that was her biggest miss.
To him.
I guess she didn't listen to any of it. You're right. Lord Krakenhead 33 says definitely need to multiple readings to fully understand. I think it was Order of the Green Hand that said George overwhelms you with details to hide truth in plain sight, which is kind of accurate. Let me just say, first off, Order of the Green Hand is probably one of my favorite A Song of Ice and Fire channels. I think I was like their 780th sub. I've found them early on. I love them. They knew me as Mr. Scotty 301. Just recently, I kind of reached out to them. So if any of you guys are in their chat ever or know them, shoot them. I want them on this one night talking about just Spoiler City. Because they are people that when they talk about, they find some of the coolest alternative theories you'll ever know. Like their vision of this book is so different than a lot of other channels that are all kind of carbon copied. They are amazing. So just if you want to watch really, really good A Song of Ice and Fire stuff, if you're not watching me, of course, check out Order of the Green Hand. They're dope.
If you watch Order of the Green Hand, you're a traitor and must die.
This is known. I guess I got to look at the book, look at 15-year-old Robb King grew up with somebody. I guess I can understand his feeling like, oh, he could go, he'll really fight for us. And I mean, it's his own son. Why wouldn't he try to help his own son? And Catelyn did everything but what she probably should have said.
I don't know if you remember back in the fencing yard when they were fencing. Go back. Think about what happened, and that will give you a heads up of right now with what I said. Who was bested in the yard? Who was upset in the yard?
Well, it was, yeah.
That right there was a tip-off.
You're absolutely right. I'm going to have to go back and read that. Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I seem to recall something like that. I'll need to look at it. And also, Theon was older than him, than he appeared in the TV show. That was something else that I noted. And that sometimes, don't overestimate or underestimate rather age.
Well, Rob being 15 and him being like 18, that's a big difference in age. We all know like a freshman in high school and a senior, that's a big difference.
Yes.
You know,
maybe not as big back then though. Because you get way more duties and stuff in a medieval society than
think about being an 18-year-old Stig that is still a hostage while the younger kid you grew up with is now a king.
Yeah. I don't know. It's but you know, back then you were effectively 25 when you were 15.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
and
but
now
also
when you're 25, you're really 15.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking in terms of length of life as well. Just we were saying about the hostages. Though point taken, Stig, but just to me, especially, that highlighted that there is a dynamic between the two of them that I didn't notice perhaps from the TV show that I have in the book, where I think it's being very clear that Theon is not necessarily the quote unquote brother that we thought he was.
Right. Just Joe Anon, good to see you, buddy. I'm planning on actually doing a video about this tomorrow, I hope. If not, it would be done on Thursday. That's a big deal. That is a big deal.
What happened there, though?
So he was
gosh.
a producer. Yeah, he was a producer with Dan and Dave on their new venture, which is the three. What is it again?
The House of Dragon?
No. It's something completely different. Dan and Dave are involved in. It's like the 3 something. I actually did a video on it a while back.
Is it the Lovecraft stuff?
No, it's a new sci-fi thing they're going to be working on, and it's like a Chinese author, but it's talking about like, an oppressive state in the future, and kind of one of those things I was shocked the CCP would allow out there. And this guy was, a Chinese citizen poisoned in Hong Kong, I believe. I got to look into it a little bit more. Something that that group is known to do to people. So I think it goes deeper than just some guy who, got food poisoning. He definitely alleged poisoning, and that's something they've done before. So
I was going to say, that is very much something that people that rhyme with unists tend to do. Yes,
very much so. It's called the 3-Body Problem. It's a big sci-fi book. I never read it, but it is a Chinese author that wrote this 3-Body Problem, and it's about alternate Earths or something like that. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, we'll get back to ours. But yes, thank you for pointing that out, man. I plan on doing something about it. And Tina, also one of my great channel members, let us know the same thing. Thank you, my friend. Why don't we finish the summary, which is so freaking long. And I don't know if we'll have to discuss more, but let's see where it goes.
Okie dokie. Here we go.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is with Catelyn. They sit silently for a long time before Catelyn asks for Blackfish's tidings. To avoid waking her father, they adjourn to the balcony. Her uncle comments that the red comet is now visible by day, and says his men call it the Red Messenger, though he wonders what the message is. Catelyn says that the Great John claims it is a red flag of vengeance for her husband, while Edmure claims it is a victory omen. A fish in Tully colors, red against blue. Catelyn can only sees the crimson of House Lannister, but her uncle points out that the comet is neither Lannister crimson nor Tully red, but a smear of blood across the sky. Catelyn asks whose blood, but the Blackfish asks if there was ever a war where only one side bled. The Blackfish explains that the war has spread south to the Blackwater Rush and north nearly to the Twins. Mark Piper and Carol Vance have won small victories, and Beric Dondarrion is harassing Lord Tywin's raiders and foragers. Sir Burton Craikwall Hall boasted of killing Dondarrion until Dondarrion killed him in an ambush. Catelyn remembers that some of her husband's household guard rode with Dondarrion from King's Landing and blesses their actions. The Blackfish comments that Dondarrion and Thoros of Marmere are enough to play hit and run, or clever enough to play hit and run, but Robb should never have permitted the River Lords return to their own lands. Jonas Bracken was wounded and lost his heir Hendry, reclaiming Stonehenge. Tytos Blackwood is left with only Raventree Hall, and young Lyman Darry was killed by Gregor Clegane less than a fortnight after reclaiming Castle Darry. The Blackfish declares that Clegane's head would make a noble gift for all the people of the realm. Talk of Heads reminds Catelyn that her husband's remains mounted on spike above the Red Keep. She reminds her uncle that Gregor Clegane is only a servant of Lord Tywin, whom Catelyn believes is the true danger. The Blackfish agrees, noting Tywin's wisdom in sitting safe in Harrenhal and living off their harvests and burning what he does not take. In addition to Clegane, Sir Amory Lort and Quahork Sellsword are also abroad, raping, burning, and butchering. Catelyn knows what Edmure will rage at the news. She also admits Robb is restless and may listen if Edmure and Great John will urge him to march on Harrenhal. The Blackfish declares that is exactly what Lord Tywin wishes, and the first rule of war is never give the enemy his wish. Catelyn recalls the tales of the vast fortress of Harrenhal by the waters of the God's Eye. King Harren the Black beggared the Riverlands and the Iron Islands alike to realize his dream of the highest and tallest towers in Westeros. The thick walls and high towers proved small against Aegon the Conqueror's dragons. Harren and all his line perished in the fires that engulfed the fortress. Strong the castle might be, but also cursed, for every house that has held Harrenhal since has come to misfortune. Catelyn decides they must dissuade Robb from fighting at Harrenhal. Her uncle then tells her the worst part. Sir Stafford Lannister is gathering a new host at Casterly Rock, though it will be made of sellswords and new recruits who require training. However, Lord Tywin is in no hurry and will wait patiently for his reinforcements. Then Catelyn gets an idea. If they confront Lord Tywin with a new threat, he might be forced to leave Harrenhal. Her uncle names Lord Renly, but Catelyn insists that they must call him King Renly if they are to ask his help. The Blackfish smiles, but points out that Renly will want something in return. Catelyn replies that he will want what kings always want. Homage.
Homage. All right, homage. Thank you very much. Again, some important stuff. We got back to the comet. You know, in every chapter, we see what different people believe the comet is.
Mm-hmm.
Is the comet something special, or is it just a tool used by George to link different characters in different areas with, you know, what culture might think, what people's own egos might think? I don't know. What do you guys think about the comet?
Both. If that makes sense, it's certainly a narrative device.
Yep.
But we also have seen that supernatural stuff is occurring, and that can affect the physical earth.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Valid. I like that. You know, we get the red flag of vengeance, first fish of the Tully fish in victory, and then you get the Blackfish saying it's a smear of blood, and he has known no wars where blood wasn't drawn on both sides. Mm-hmm. And it always seems like the elder person of the group, except for Asha, or OSHA, has a valid point when they talk about this. I mean, personally, I don't know if you guys agree. It means the coming of dragons. That's what it's Danny's comet. Everybody else is just borrowing it. We'll put.
Yeah.
I think in general, though, in the story, even if it's Danny's comment, like we probably know, and it's still up for debate, really. But I think every character in the story that has an opinion about it thinks the comet is what they need it to be.
Valid. I like that. That's true.
I agree with Stig. Yeah, it's looking at it from different religions. It's looking at it from ages past where war has come. Like you said, elders view it one way because they've seen. The young ones think it's great and wonderful. It's something to. It's an omen of victory.
Right.
Like he says, everyone sees it each in its own way and they take away from it what they need it to say. You can mold it into anything that you want it to be.
Right.
Interesting. One could also argue that also spills over into how they are responding to these events.
Oh, yeah. I do like with the time memes of destruction, a timekeeping device. In a way, it does link, so like, okay, it was over Essos at this point at the end of Game of Thrones. Now it's over this part of Westeros. So in a way, because these books are hard to tell chapter by chapter when they're taking place. There have been chapters at the end of a book that really, when you start reading the next book, those chapters were way before that part of that, so as a timekeeping device, I actually think it's kind of spot on in a way too. But I do like what you said, Lady Tauriel and Teresa too. It's almost, with the young, they see it as a sign of victory. They see it as a good omen. When you have the older folks that may have not seen this particular comet, but other astronomical things in the sky, other omens, they know that they're never good. So, you got old Nan who just knows it's dragons. She could smell it. The blackfish saying it's blood. They know that it's never a good sign because it might actually give somebody false hope to think that they're going to have victory because of this, which would cause more blood. So I kind of find that interesting.
I do find it interesting that one could argue that the only ones that were correct about the prediction will be old Nan. Always listen to old Nan.
Always. And OSHA. OSHA was right too.
Yeah,
she said dragons.
Yep.
Or fire and blood, she said. Fire
and blood, yes.
Yep. What does he have here? Surely a comet wouldn't stay in the sky the length of a chapter. You never know. It's a slow-moving comet, man. We get Beric Dondarrion sighting. And even at that, different, things. People saying he's dead. People saying he's alive. Like he won this battle. He lost this battle. They bring up the death of different lords. Look at, funny, we get a comment about the young lord of the dairy when Ned sends them out. He was there in King's Landing, and now that poor kid is dead. The dairies have a very pro-Targaryen history, so I always wonder when they're going to come back into the fold. But it seems like their family just got wiped out. So a lot of things going on, Thoros Amir and Beric Dondarrion still causing havoc, which is helping their cause out. We get a sighting or people not, talking about clean game, but also Amory Lorch, and they don't say him by name in the chapter, but Vargo Holt, who is just sadistic, who will be make something happen in the story that's huge, that changes the course of a couple characters' lives. So it's very interesting. They just kind of throw those names out there like it's not a big deal, but some of these people change the trajectory of multiple people's lives with one swift move, we'll just say.
And perhaps also showing the cost that's already happening.
Yep. Stig, anything with you, buddy?
No, I think you guys summed it up fairly well. It's one of those chapters that's very info dumping, and it's very setup-ish. Pieces moving around, plans being made.
Yeah. There's a lot of info in this chapter and a lot of setup. I think a lot of the chapters do that, but you also get, you get to see through Catelyn's eyes, her son, Rob, who is not a POV yet, may never be. Wink, wink. So we never really get to see what Rob's feeling, but we're seeing as closely as we can from a mother. I would love to see what Rob thinks, how his mind works. On one hand, he's a king. On the other, he's an old boy, which is crazy. But yeah, we do hear cat's paw in that chapter. Just talking about Lord Tywin's cat's paw. I kind of like that. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Lady Tauriel, anything else you noticed in that chapter?
No, like Stig said, a lot of information or down the road, shall we say.
I'm with you. All right. Well, then I guess we'll move on to Tyrion. I think it's Tyrion 2. My book, it starts on chapter 1 or page 122. I will read the synopsis from a wiki of Ice and Fire from Westeros.com and sit back and enjoy. People, sub to you too, Subhuman84. Good to see you, brother. All right. Let us go on. I almost muted myself. That would have been great. Tyrion offers more wine to his dinner guest, Lord Janos Slynt. The butcher's son accepts and asks if the wine is from the arbor. Tyrion replies that the wine is actually an uncommonly rich Dornish vintage. Slynt compliments Tyrion's gift for words, calling him a lord, but Tyrion points out that Slynt is the true lord and a simple Tyrion will suffice. He notes that Slynt does not sip his wine, as is so drunk he dribbles onto his fine clothes. Unlike Slynt, Tyrion has gone easy on the wine, but certainly not the food, since one of his first acts as hand was to hire the finest cook in the city. Slynt is very impressed with the food and says perhaps he will hire Tyrion's cook to serve him at Harrenhal. Tyrion quibs that wars have been fought over less. Tyrion declares Slynt a bold man to take a grim and allegedly cursed place like Harrenhal as his seat. Slynt dismisses the superstition and insists that it takes a bold man to rise, as he and Tyrion have. Tyrion refills Slynt's cup as he asks about Slynt's list of proposed successors as commander of the city watch. Slynt opines that he would choose Eller Deem, who is described as a good and loyal man. Tyrion says he is considering Sir Jacqueline Bywater, a distinguished knight whose name does not appear on Slynt's list. Slynt argues that Bywater is rigid and thinks overmuch of himself as his honor, insisting that Allar Deem is the one Tyrion wants. Tyrion remarks that Allar Deem is little loved in the streets, but Slynt insists he is feared, which is better. Tyrion brings up the Deem killed a young whore and her infant daughter. Slint explains that only the child was supposed to die, but the mother got in the way. He says he chooses Deem, God, these names, because Deem is hard man who always follows orders and never speaks of it afterwards. Tyrion asks who ordered Slint to kill the whore's bastard, but Slint insists his prides himself on being as tight-lipped as L.R. Deem. Tyrion suggests that Jorah Mormont, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, could use men like Slint and Deem, but Slint responds that there is small chance of that. Tyrion points out that the life takes queer turns, as it did with Eddard Stark, who never imagined he would die on the steps of Baelor's Sept. Slint laughed that few did and confirmed that even Varys was surprised. Slint also confirms the execution was King Joffrey's decision and seemed confused when Tyrion points out Cersei's plan to allow Stark to take the Black. Tyrion comments on Slint's new bloody spear sigil and asks if Slint drove the spear into Eddard Stark's back himself or if he only gave the command. Angered, Slint insists Stark was a traitor who tried to buy him. Tyrion replies, little dreaming that you had already been sold. Slint declares he would not have his honor questioned, but Tyrion retorts that Slint has no honor, though he does admit a spear thrust in the back is a good bargaining for a lordship in a castle. Slint rises and demands what right Tyrion has to chastise him. Tyrion points out that Slint knows exactly who he is and should thank the gods he does not have to deal with Lord Tywin instead. Tyrion declares Slint's two younger sons will become squires, and the eldest will inherit his title and lands, but not Harrenhal. Then Tyrion explains that Carrick Summer's dream will take Slint to the Wall, where he is join the Night's Watch and give Tyrion's regard to Lord Commander Mormont. Enraged, Slint declares he has powerful friends like King Joffrey Littlefinger and Queen Cersei. Perhaps Tyrion will be the one banished to the Wall. As Slint throws open the door to leave, he comes face to face with Sir Jacelyn Bywater, whom Tyrion introduces as the new commander of the City Watch. As 6 gold cloaks usher Slint away, Tyrion hands Slint list of successors to Bywater and asks him to see they accompany Slint to Eastwatch by the Sea, adding that it would not be taken amiss if Allard Deem was swept aboard. Soon after, Varys glides into the hall to praise Tyrion's action. Tyrion comments that he is tempted to do Varys the same as Deem. Varys replies that Tyrion might be disappointed. The storms come and go, but he keeps on paddling. Tyrion accuses the eunuch of concealing that Cersei sent gold cloaks to kill King Robert's bastards. Varys asks forgiveness, but Tyrion refuses. Angry that he must make a show of punishing the like of Slint and Deem while his sister continues on her savage course. Tyrion insists Varys tell him everything he knows from now on, but Varys only says he knows quite a lot. Tyrion points out Varys did not know enough to save the whore and her child. Varys says he took steps to save another bastard, an older boy, but assures Tyrion he never dreamed the baseborn daughter of a whore would be considered a threat. Tyrion remarks that being Robert was enough of a threat for Cersei. Varys blames himself and comments that the whore loved King Robert. Thinking of Shae and Tysha, Tyrion wonders if a whore can truly love anyone. He recalls that although he provided her with a rich manse and fine gifts, when he and Shae he said Shae served him best between the sheets, it was not what she wanted to hear. Tyrion remarks that it seems Joffrey is truly to blame for Eddard Stark's death, though Slint and Sir Ilyn Payne carried out the sentence almost as if they expected it. Varys states that Tyrion can prevent further follies with the support of the gold cloaks, but there are still Cersei's household red cloaks to consider. Tyrion responds that they are loyal to Casterly Rock and outnumbered by his Vale Mountain clansmen, not to mention 6,000 gold cloaks if Bywater is the man Varys claims. Tyrion does not trust Varys, but cannot deny his usefulness. He asks Varys why he is so helpful, and Varys replies, "You are the hand. I serve the realm, the king, and you." Tyrion asks, "Are you as you served Jon Arryn and Eddard Stark?" But Varys states he served as best he could, and he does not think Tyrion will share the same fate, since power is a curious thing. Varys brings up the riddle he asked Tyrion before. Tyrion says the answer depends on the sellsword, who holds the power of life and death. Varys wonders out loud why men pretend kings hold power if this is true. Tyrion points out the king can call other swordsmen, but Varys only asks why these other swordsmen obey rather than rule. Neither the godly High Sept, nor the lawful Queen Regent, nor the ever knowledgeable Varys could prevent Eddard Stark's death. So who truly killed him? Joffrey, who gave the command, Sir Lynn, who swung the sword, or another? When Tyrion asked for the answer to the riddle, Varys declared that power resides where men believe it resides. Tyrion asks if power is just a trick, and Varys agrees it is a shadow on the wall, though shadows can kill, and often a very small man can cast a very large shadow. Tyrion smiles and declares he is growing fond of Varys, and though he may kill him yet, he thinks he feels sad about it. Varys declares he will take that as high praise. Tyrion asks why Varys but Varys only says he is a loyal servant of the realm. Tyrion presses on to ask who made Varys a eunuch and who he truly is. Varys smiles, never flickers, but his eyes show a very different emotion as he insists his tale is long and sad. So Varys draws a parchment from his sleeve and reveals the master of the galley, White Hart, plans to defect to Lord Stannis. Tyrion sighs that they should make an example of the man, which will serve both to discourage other captains and to keep Joffrey busy. Next, Varys informs him Sir Horace and Sir Haber Redwine have bribed a guard and plan to escape on the Pentoshi Gallery Moonrunner. Tyrion instructs Varys to have Bywater send the guards to the Night's Watch and post a guard on the Moonrunner just in case. Next, Varys notes that the clansman Timett killed a man for cheating at tiles. When Varys confirms the man was cheating, Tyrion declares Timett did all honest men a favor. Next, Varys explains the Red Comet has brought all manners of prophets to the city to preach doom and destruction. Tyrion instructs Varys to let them rant. Finally, Varys states that when Lord Giles Rosby proposed a toast to the king, Sir Balon Swan remarked they would need 3 cups for that, and many laughed. Tyrion insists he is not interested in treasonous table talk, which Varys calls wise. Last paragraph. Tyrion returns to his solar to find Bronn waiting. The sellsword asks about Slynt, and Tyrion admits he has likely replaced one of Littlefinger's men with one of Varys. Tyrion asks how the recruiting is going, and Bronn explains that he only hires the sellswords who make a good impression in a duel. Tyrion asks if Bronn has killed any candidates, and Bronn answered no one we could have used. Tyrion asks what should happen if one of them kills Bronn, but Bronn only says that man will be one Tyrion wants to hire. Tyrion asks Bronn if he would kill an infant girl without question. When commanded, Bronn replies, without question, no, I'd ask how much. Tyrion remarks to himself that he does not need Slynt or Deem, since he has 100 such men of his own. He wants to laugh or cry, but most of all, he wants Shay. Thank you. Let's see. Stig, what did you think of that chapter?
I think it's stuffed with foreshadowing.
Yes.
And I can't say why, because that would be spoilers, but I caught 2 fairly big things. But yeah, I don't know. It's up to you if I should say them. I put them in my private chat.
Let me see. Well, I don't know if you're right about the Varys one, but you could bring it up. Because no, not the Varys one. Because I'll tell you what I think. But you can go ahead. You know what? That happens in this book, doesn't it?
No,
No,
it happens in the next book, doesn't it? Okay.
which is why I put it in the private chat. But anyway, I caught something.
You can't say something big, someone big. You could bring that up.
Yeah, okay. Varys says that shadows can kill. And he says a small man can cast a very big shadow. That means a very big death, which means Tyrion might end up killing someone very big, in quotation marks, someone very important. Big name.
I agree.
That's a very good foreshadowing. Yes.
I disagree on one thing, though. I really think, after rereading it, how Varys was trying to hint about somebody else, not Joffrey, not Ilan Payne, but somebody else commanding them. He could have meant that little man casting a big shadow. That could have been a Littlefinger also. Because he's a shadow. He's always in the background. He's always whispering. He always has somebody else doing it. It's not him. You know what I mean? Like, he could have tried to give him a hint, and Tyrion took it as a compliment.
Well, to be fair,
right.
Even Arya could cast a big shadow.
Right.
And so could Bran.
Yeah.
Right. But what I'm saying is, in this chapter, just rereading this chapter, I almost sensed that Tyrion misunderstood what Varys was saying. Even though your foreshadowing is correct, I think Varys was actually meaning it was Littlefinger. Like, you need to look at Littlefinger because he casts a big shadow. I almost think he didn't mean to compliment Tyrion, but it turned out it worked for him, so he went with it.
You have to remember that Varys is totally for what is good for the kingdom, not what is good for a person or a king or anyone else. And always keep that in mind.
I disagree, though. I think Varys twists that idea that he's always for the realm. He's for one thing in particular. Because think back. Okay, so we could talk about this because it's history. He was the one. Okay, so many people believe that Rhaegar and the tournament at Harrenhal was for Rhaegar to get, a cover for Rhaegar to get all the big lords and the great houses all together to show himself knightly and show himself kingly and to have like a great council to overthrow his father. It was Varys who told Aerys to go to that because he thought something was up. Now, if he was for the realm, why wouldn't have he not told Aerys that and let Rhaegar overthrow his father, who would have definitely been a better king? So is he really for the realm, or is the realm his excuse to do his own leader, have his own leadership, we'll just say?
I think it's both. I think you're both right.
Okay.
But
okay.
I think he believes a good Targaryen is best for the realm. And
I think he thinks the right Targaryen is the best for the realm.
Yeah, I think, and this is a theory we've talked about on the theory chat, so I'm not sure if I can say it.
At this moment, I don't care. Like I'm into this.
But I think Varys is Egg.
Yeah, you do. I forgot that. Yes.
Yeah. And Egg was all about the exact same things that Varys.
Yeah. That's
true. They have the same thoughts about what the kingdom should be like. It should be equal for all, basically. And he wants someone on the throne that shares that view. So he is for the realm in that sense. But I think he wants maybe someone to mentor into his image in a sense that has Targaryen blood. That's what I think it is. So I think both both you and Tauriel were right, and that I am more right.
Yes, of course. Right, Lady Tauriel?
Wait, but does egg
yeah.
does the timeline fit that for egg? Because I thought
Well, something makes
Matt.
sometime comes back with amplified motivations.
Yes. A fire white. We've talked about fire whites before.
oh,
So.
got you. Okay, so you're thinking something supernatural.
Paris is missing a little piece, so there has been blood magic.
Yep.
Down the line, and
More
And
than
don't
a
forget,
little piece.
Right. He does seem to be more talented at disguising who he is when he wants to, more manly at times. He's very fragrant and wispy into the room, but yet when he goes down to see Edark Stark in the Black Cells, it took Edark like really staring and like paying attention to realize this was Varys because he was more manly and rough. And glamours are something that can work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Something we really haven't learned about yet, though.
Especially since he changes his disguises fast,
Yes.
seemingly.
I have to go back and reread Dunk and Egg now again.
Oh, definitely do.
Sorry.
No.
No, that's
Definitely
okay.
do.
No, that's okay because it does tweak a lot of stuff that may come in the next book coming out.
Yes.
Also, there's a little bit about, well, quite a bit about Egg and what happened to him in the world of Ice and Fire.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think there's a reason why George Martin decided to write the Dunk and Egg stories, because it has stuff from the main series in it. It's directly referencing it at times, and yeah.
Sometimes I really love to hate this man, because he writes so well and he drops hints so well, but in a way I love it because that's what I like, because I like mysteries. I've always liked
Mhm.
mysteries, and I always pick up on little things.
Yes. And he's the king of dropping little things. Even him saying shadows can kill.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, it just hit me when you said that. It's like, duh.
Yeah. I mean, it's just little things, the way he says it, a throwaway line.
It's really
But-
shady, isn't it?
Oh,
It's very shady. So we also find out, again, another big difference between book and show, because in the show they wanted Cersei to seem sympathetic. They had it in the show that Joffrey sent out sellswords to kill all of Robert's bastards. And it was actually in the book, it's Cersei who sent out the killers that killed all these lowborn bastards of Robert. Why do you think she did it?
Because she's a witch with a B.
Witch with a B. Okay, that's good.
Are we 100%
she's
sure it
jealous.
was-
Jealousy.
Finish your thought.
Oh.
Yeah, no worries. Jealousy, you think?
A lot of jealousy from the wedding night.
Mm-hmm.
oh.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give you that on that one. I mean, she held that to the bitter end, the wedding night. What about you, Stig? What were you going to say?
I said, do we know for sure that it was her?
For sure, no, but I believe it's inferred that it's her in this chapter. And I believe it.
In the show, it was Joffrey.
Right. I don't believe so, though. I believe it was her in the book. I'm pretty definite on that. And I think I know the reasoning why it was her. I believe. Oh, go ahead, Teresa. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to me, it made a lot more sense that it was Cersei, the way it was. I felt it was in this chapter, because we don't really know that Joffrey knew these things. We just know he's just being a little brat. So
he's heard whispers.
Yeah, but
You
even then, it would be something that Cersei would go full throttle on
and keep tabs on.
Yes.
How many bastards he has.
It's also protection for her children.
That's where I was going to go with it too. Please explain why you think so.
How do I say this? To keep secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Because
secrets that you could see how. Because I know, I mean, you could just say
that her children are bastards.
Exactly.
And
that's it.
Robert's children are bastards. So everyone has an equal claim to the throne, depending on who was born first.
Well, truthfully, it is, and Jen hits it here, to not have any Robert's kids be up for the throne if the truth was out. That's what it is. Think about all of Robert's bastards have dark hair and Baratheon features. Now, people are saying that Cersei's kids are not Robert's kids, and they all have blonde hair and Lannister features. Well, right there, seeing those children and then connecting that the seed is strong, she had to kill them so no one could put the two together like the last two hands did.
The seed is strong thing, though, is not common knowledge.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is, if anybody, because we've already had two different people and Stannis, so we've had Jon Arryn, Ned Stark, both killed over the seed is strong, and Stannis knowing that the seed was that those kids are bastards. If you were now to find somebody who thought, hey, let's round up all of Robert's bastards, they all, no matter what the mother was, look like a Baratheon. And these kids look like Lannisters. What's up with that? I think that's one of the main reasons she would have killed them. So there's no question that her,
people know that Stannis is honest to a flaw.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is not a good thing, agree. Especially not on Twitter.
Yes, Stannis would have been crap at Twitter.
Yeah, right. And thank you, Jen, for that one. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I haven't seen you in the chat, so thank you very much. What else did you guys notice in that?
Guys,
chapter?
I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to leave because I need to grab something to eat and get dressed and get ready to go to work. So
you are always invited, though, anytime you can have. So let them know where they can find you.
Lady Tauriel is my channel on Twitter. I go by Lady Tauriel 1, and I'm here sometimes when I can wake up early enough to be on here.
Anytime, you're always welcome here.
On my channel, starting to do streams, Stig or Stannis, excuse me, in this chat, and Miss Martin Muse have been on my channel, which I appreciated so much. We had a lot of fun, so look out for more streams coming your way. I'll have to grab you one of these days to be on, sir, because I appreciate
let me know.
You.
Oh, thank you.
You guys all have a great evening. I'm going to go grab something because my tummy's rumbling.
All right. Thank you so much. And yeah, let me know. We'll hook up on your channel.
Okay. You guys have a great evening. Bye.
You too, buddy. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, her streams are awesome. They're so much fun to be on.
Yeah, she's so smart. She's so smart. I love where her little pickups on this book. I would love to be on one of her streams. More than love it. That'd be awesome. Yeah, guys. So if you're not, Lady Tauriel is in the chat. Her link from Machini. So is Teresa from House Martin, which is Miss Martin Muses, and so is Stig. He doesn't want you, but you should subscribe to him anyways. Bye, Jen. Oh no, you're saying bye to Lady Tauriel. Okay, so anything else you guys saw? We get the red comet again. We find out that there's prophets, prophecies happening all over the city, people coming in. So now you're seeing like even the small folk and nomadic type people are coming into the city because of the comet to preach, their beliefs on it and stuff like that.
I'm wondering, I think it was you, Sporks, that said there was supposed to be a time skip.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that time skip plan has affected the comet.
You know what? You may be valid. That might be right. Why do you think that, though?
Because in both these chapters, right? The comet is heavily featured. It's actually heavily featured all over the book.
Right.
But then, well, I was going to say it doesn't go anywhere, but comets do go somewhere.
Right. But we never see it again, right?
No, it's just all kinds of people had these theories, and then it went away.
Right. And that might be true because I believe, though, the time jump isn't supposed to happen until I want to say it's between A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, or it was between A Storm of Swords and A Feast for Crows. I think maybe that was it because he was going to make Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons are one huge book divided, correct?
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's divided after being pieced up. Really?
Right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, because the A Feast of Crows is the first half of A Dance with Dragons because it only has half the characters.
Right.
Weird thing to do. I'm actually hoping later on they release it as 2 books, but they've been put together the way they were intended.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Ooh.
Because that would, I think that would fix a lot of confusion, and it would be
right because continuity is so tough to keep up with on those 2 books.
Yeah, because we keep rereading it and all that, so we get used to it. But for new readers and stuff, that bit is a bit of a, I wouldn't say problem, but it feels. I remember when I read it the first time, I was like, "What the heck is this? Where's
right?"
Right. And then I have to actually work and piece together where book 4 and the half of book 5 ends, and when the story actually continues from the end of book 4. You see how this is confusing? Just explaining it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have no idea what you're talking about.
Here, right? Okay. I was just
thoroughly
saying
confused.
So when you read, okay, so we're right now on A Clash of Kings. Next up is a Storm of Swords, right? Is that where it goes next? Yeah, Storm of Swords. When you get to the 4th book, it's A Feast of Crows. But the thing with A Feast of Crows is it's actually half of A Dance with Dragons, the original writing. George wrote so much that he took half the characters from his book and put them into A Feast for Crows, and then the other half are in the 5th book, A Dance with Dragons. So really what Stig is saying, if you chronological those 2 books, it would take a chapter from Feast, then a chapter from Dance, then a chapter, like he just separated characters. So you won't see John in one of the books, but in the other book, you may see, you know, Arya, which I'm not saying it happens, but that's how it is.
Wow.
And even the title, A Feast for Crows, I never thought that made sense. All the other ones fit like a glove, but that one is like, you have to stretch a bit to make it fit. Because you'd think book 3 is more fitting for that title.
Yes, the end of book 3, right?
Well, all of it, because, you know,
right.
Crows get
a lot happens.
You know?
No, that's true. A lot happens. A lot happens in that book. Real quick, I just want to say thank you, Culture Casino, for $1.49 super sticker, which must be a Doomicorn. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Culture Casino rocks. His channel is bigger than mine now. He just keeps growing because he keeps doing great content. Awesome, awesome live streams. I missed his one yesterday, which I feel terrible about. But go back and watch it, guys. It was really good. And thank you.
Toby Moss makes a point. He says it's the aftermath of battle. He's right. But the problem is almost no chapters in that book takes place near the aftermath of battles.
Right. Like you're saying, a Storm of Swords would be more of a Feast of Crows than Feast of Crows is. I agree with you.
Even Dance with Dragons, given there's several characters near the aftermath.
Actually, it would probably be way better if they switched it. You're right.
Yeah, because Dragons is a Dance with Dragons is a reference to Targaryens warring each other.
Right.
Even that doesn't really happen in book 5.
No. But you have Oberyn in book 4. You have
Oberyn is
you have more stuff involved with the Targaryen family in book 4 than you do in book 5. And also, I think that isn't that the first book where he starts, you know, the names of the chapters are different than the person's name. Yeah.
That
it gets so confusing.
Yeah, the maiden in the tower and, you know, the shit shoveler in the ditch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He actually sounds like my top 5 lists.
Oh my gosh.
Holy shit, that's so true. That is so true. You guys have anything else with this chapter? The only other thing I could think of is the Balon Braun. You know, you see the Braun in the show is not as sweet as the Braun in the books. You know, he'd be willing to kill a babe, just wants to know how much. You know, like he's not mentioned as much or in the books as much, but you know, he's such a great character.
Yeah, he's. I would have loved to have seen the Braun chapter.
Ooh,
right,
and a Varys one too.
I wish we did. I guess the next 2 books will only have POVs we've already seen, right?
Here's a question for both of you, and I guess myself too. If you could pick 3 characters that didn't have a POV chapter, and you only got 1 chapter from that person, though, which 3 would it be?
Live or dead, right? Or let's just, everybody's pretty much alive by now. So like I said before, I would love to have had a Rob POV just to see what he was thinking during these battles and with Grey Wind, what connection he had with Grey Wind. Yeah, Varys would probably be another one. And I don't know who would my third be. I almost feel like you just answered it, though. Braun, Varys, and Rob. Littlefinger doesn't have one, so Littlefinger would have probably been really cool to see, too. So, I don't know. What about you, Lady or I was about to say Lady Miss Muses. Miss Martin Muses. I'm so sorry.
I think I'll take Lady Teresa too. I accept that.
I like Lady Teresa. That's cool.
To be honest, I don't think I know enough from the characters so far, unless we're talking to up to this point. Because Rob, I think, is the only one currently that I know doesn't have one, unless Jamie, because I don't think Jamie has had a point of view one yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to be hearing what he's thinking.
Yeah, she's right. She doesn't have enough knowledge to find out, because he does get a POV.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think, Stig?
Well, Braun and Varys, and I. Well, this is for the next book, though. The upcoming one. I would have a nerdgasm if we get a Benjen Stark chapter.
Oh, that'd be dope. I was actually just thinking Benjen Stark would have been good, or even Mormont would have been cool to see him have a POV. But yeah, if we get a Benjen, don't forget you said this a few weeks ago. There's no new POVs, but that doesn't include the prologue and the epilogue.
Yeah,
those could be people that we never heard before, right?
Yeah, and also no new POVs. That doesn't mean we can't have a Lady Stoneheart POV.
That would be dope. Even though, yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't care if we haven't read that part yet. Lady Stoneheart would be awesome.
Would she be just like a maniac, though?
No, see, that's what I want to know. What's going on in that because she's calculated. I want to know what's going on in that vengeful, calculated mind. That's a good one, man. I would like to see more Melisandre too. Even though she's had one POV, I would like to see more from her.
I want her to do something really fucked up in her own POV chapter.
Oh no.
Yeah, some really dark shit.
Well, there might be something coming, so you don't know. All right, we're going to finish off with the Arya one. It is it's super long, but it's long enough. God. Let's see if I can get through it. All right, so Arya 3, here we go. The road Arya and the others travel is now little more than 2 ruts through the weeds, and the human flood has slowed to a trickle, so there is no one to say which way they go. However, the road wanders back and forth, tangles with other trails, and sometimes vanishes entirely. Arya hates it. The terrain is gentle enough, but even so, the path is narrow enough that the wagons slow their pace to a crawl. 12 times a day, they must stop to free wheels, or double back. Arya constantly looks over her shoulder, wondering when the gold cloaks are going to catch her. She does not trust their sentries, especially the orphan boys who seem lost out in the woods. Arya can sneak past any of them when she goes off in the night to make water alone. Once she snuck right up to Lamy Greenhands and considered jumping on him, but changed her mind at the thought of Yoren punishing her again. The orphans all treat Gendry like someone special because the queen wants his head. Gendry will have none of it, though. He insists he was only an apprentice armorer until Master Tobha Mott told him he was to join the Night's Watch. Then he goes off to polish his bull helmet, but never wears it. Lamy guesses Gendry is the Wolf Lord's bastard, which angers Arya, who knows Jon Snow is her father's only bastard. She wishes she could ride home alone, but she knows that would mean no one to scout ahead, watch behind, stand guard, all that good stuff for the Gold Cloaks. Yoren decides the King's Road will not be safe until they cross the Trident, so they intend to travel around the west far side of the God's Eye. Settlements and farmlands give way to forest, and the terrain grows rougher. Their provisions soon run out, so Yoren turns to poachers, Koss, and Kurz to range ahead to hunt, and the younger boys are set to pick berries, plunder orchards along the road. Arya is a skilled climber and a fast picker, and one day she comes across a rabbit which Jordan stews. Everyone else gets a spoonful, but Arya gets a whole leg and shares it with Gendry.
Sporking, I hate
Briar
to interrupt you, but you're having some serious robo issues.
Damn it! All right, we're not going to read any more of that. Why does that happen?
It only happens when you read.
Too. Yeah, I don't know. It's so confusing. But you know what? It wouldn't be one of these streams if I didn't go robo on this piece of crap laptop. So thank God for all you guys out there and your super chats and super stickers and memberships, because I'm buying the computer components this week. So thank you guys. So yeah, it's mostly about them going back. She does bring up like the Kings of Winter and talks about like the direwolf and the House Sigil. It's kind of important. Oh no, I'm sorry. That is something completely different I'm reading. I don't know. We could talk about the thing. Really, what I see is she has a moment with some wolf pack. It's pretty much telling you about the effects of war on people. I don't know. It's not one of my favorite chapters. Though I do have to point back, we were talking about Varys in the previous chapter. Varys admits to saving one of the bastards, and he is the one that brought Gendry to Yoren. So it all links together.
Yeah, I agree with you that this chapter, I found myself indifferent to what was going on.
Right.
A little bit, especially after the previous two. So it is for certain that, okay, so Varys was the one that saved Gendry.
Right.
And I don't know. I mentioned this earlier that I have this bad feeling every time Arya comes on, and I feel terrible because I know that it's a TV show that's messed me up with her, but I've been very impatient with her chapters lately, and I think that that's why. So it's very hard for me to read this one objectively.
Right.
So, but if I'm hearing you correctly, you're confirming that it really wasn't, the chapter really wasn't all that. So it wasn't my bias necessarily.
No, you know what? There's information you learn about how the roads are no longer safe since, Ned was beheaded and Robert died, because war is going on. There isn't people they're coming across where you could do trades or barter with. I think it's a chapter to kind of, show that Arya is still Arya Stark and not Ari. Her friendships, things growing a little bit better with people. Hot Pie admitting that he never kicked a kid in the nuts to death. Stuff like that. And her paranoia of the Gold Cloak coming after her and being a little jealous. It was, Gendry's getting all this attention in a way, but these chapters with Arya going with Yoren to the wall are some, to me, are the most tedious chapters to read.
Really?
Not tedious in a bad sense, just like I feel like I have to scour them because I'm like, what am I missing? I don't know how to explain it.
The thing about, well, this is just my opinion, and this is what I'm getting out of the Arya chapters in those books is Arya has an adventure story. It's almost like a side story.
Mm-hmm.
She goes on a journey and, gets to see the world. And you get tidbits about the world, right? Through that story. But she's not doing anything that affects the main story so far. She witnesses it. So it's like she has a different thing going on.
Right.
Because all the other characters affect each other, but after book one, there's not many that affect Arya, except for one.
Yeah, one guy. But you know what though? I could say they don't affect Arya directly, but their actions affect her story.
Yeah, she's witnessing stuff.
Yes,
but it's not
the aftermath.
nothing directly at her.
Right. Right, because she isn't Arya Stark anymore. You know, like, yes, she is, but she's just somebody walking the trail as a normal person. And if we go with Game of Thrones, like, she's always been the one that connected with the small folk. And now she's actually a small folk.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I always feel when I'm reading the Arya chapters that I'm reading one of those old classic adventure stories that has a journey in them.
Right.
So it's almost like The Hobbit.
Yeah, I guess you got a valid point there, man. I didn't put it like that.
If she's involved with killing a dragon at the end,
that'd be so dope. She's Bilbo. She's Bilbo.
Yeah, she has Sting.
Yep. Yeah, she does. She has Sting. Hold on.
Wow. Well, now I'm going to have to look at it a little bit differently. If I look at it more as an adventure and perhaps even separate a little bit from some of the other things, that, maybe I might enjoy these a little more.
Right. It is, like, I definitely used the wrong word. It's not that it's tedious, but I did, like, the first reading of them. I'm with you, Teresa. It was kind of tough for me to get through the Arya ones at the beginning of this book. But once you realize, like, she's almost our connection to the small folk. Like, what are normal people going through when the Game of Thrones is being played? And it is interesting to see the fallout of Rob's decisions and Tywin's decisions and like, go down the list. She sees the fallout of what happens to people, and she's a part of it, and it affects her life in that way. So it's indirectly affecting her, but their decisions.
She's almost the only character that gets to see it.
Yeah.
The brutal effects of the war that the others are waging. And I'm pretty damn sure this is deliberate, because he has her travel through the lands, basically seeing the aftermath of every battle and stuff that happened earlier. I'm pretty sure there's a hell of a lot of messaging in there about that, because George Martin did not like war.
Right. These are anti-war books.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and the Arya chapters are absolutely the most anti-war chapters you'll find in the series.
Well, they show the effect of war, the aftermath, like, you're absolutely right, man. Like, the King's Road was the safest road to travel when a Stark was in Winterfell and Robert or a Targaryen was on the throne. And now you see it's not even being tended to because of what's going on. So you're right.
Actually, if you think about it, it's the King's Road. She's traveling on the King's Road, and she's seeing the effects of war and all that, all the misery, and that is the road to kingship. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be something.
No, I kind of like where you're going with that. And it's also not just kingship, like the effects of war, but when there is not when you have multiple people clamoring to be king, the road that is traveled is hard. It's harsh. It's overgrown. It's not tended to the way it's supposed to be when you have one true king.
Yeah. And the road is paved with good intentions, but that's the effect of those good intentions, isn't it?
Yeah. And the road is hell because of the King's Road. One could say that, as you said, the actions upon it, in that it is a manifestation of the reality that's going on.
Yeah.
Very interesting, man.
Yeah, because and he's wrapping it in a more lighthearted tone because
Mhm.
she's traveling with some colorful people and all that. But it's the true message of those chapters, I think, is the effects of war on the common people.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because she does zigzag. She goes from, you know, I might get this wrong, East Coast to West Coast. She goes from, I mean, she goes far in her travels in this book and even farther in other books. So you're absolutely right. And it's, oh man, it's not just Westeros. She sees the effects of all this death and pain people go through.
And she's actually surrounded by death.
Completely. She is death.
One
Yeah.
of the first things that happens is that, you know, the butcher's boy she's playing with is killed.
Micah.
Yeah. And then her father and then her dancing master. She's the only... No, never mind. Sansa also sees her father die.
Right.
And then she kills that little boy as she's leaving.
Exactly. I mean, and don't forget, she's like 8 years old.
Yes, and here's a little thought, though.
Yeah.
They keep saying that stuff that happened before will come again and all that.
Mhm.
And if you look at the religions, the 7,
Yeah.
the last one is the stranger, and he's death, right?
Yes.
Arya is always a stranger everywhere she goes, and death is all around her.
Oh.
I'm telling you, man, you're onto it right there. You're onto it right there.
I mean, even the Faceless Man is a guild of death.
Yep. She really is.
They worship death, basically.
Yep.
She becomes the goddess
of death.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but he'd better finish these books so that we can get his explanation of all this instead of the crappy TV show version, because that all confused me because it went nowhere.
I think I'm onto something with this one, though.
But, I do.
Yes.
I agree.
And then again, so I always do that. So.
Oh, you know, crying out loud!
No,
you're good.
I always think I'm onto something.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you know what, though? I think also he's telling us that Bilbo Baggins is death.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yes. And how does Bilbo Baggins' sword get its name, right? He kills spiders.
Yep.
So
how does the needle get its name?
Well, that's early on, but maybe the needle.
What gets the name? She and her brother came up with it. John.
No.
It was
right.
It was a nickname because of her with her.
Yeah. Well,
a
needle stings. You know.
Yes. Yep.
But do we have a character in the game in the story named the Spider?
Yes.
A lot of people would want that spider removed.
Yep.
Interesting.
And with his talents of disguise, it would take someone even better to get close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So,
yep.
That would be, now that would blow my mind, that if you're saying that you're thinking that perhaps this could be a hint that Arya will kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, because she would be trained at spotting people who are faking it.
Yeah, and the small shadow that ends up killing the big shadow.
Could be marvelously foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Or I do like came up with a better idea than Martin did.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be so dope, though. Tina has an interesting one. You could take each facet of the gods of the Faith of the Seven, and without John included, because he's a air quotes bastard, you could put, like Catelyn as the crone. Wow, you could actually put them all in some facet of it. With Arya being a stranger.
If you have the crone, you can't have the mother.
Yeah, but oh wait a minute. You have the crone, the mother, the maid, right?
Yeah, the maid would
That's
be
right.
Sansa.
Yeah.
Yeah, the maid would be Sansa. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, wait a minute. One character does let's just say not be the same person at the end. So couldn't that person also be the mother and the crone?
Yeah, but then you have one too many Starks.
Yeah.
From a certain point of view.
Yeah, you're
From a
right.
certain point of view.
Certain point of view. I don't know. I like that though. We'll have to think about that one too. Anything with these chapters you gotta want to? We'll be wrapping it up. We've been going for a little over 2 hours now. So, anything you guys can think about that you want to hit on before we close this sucker up?
I'd like to go back to Tyrion when once again, as he's thinking about the whore that got killed, he's remembering back to his first wife and thinking about Shay. It's continuous that she is still being into the forefront. We know that he affected, she affected many things about him in his early life, but an event that will be happening later that I heard did happen differently from the TV show. I'm just noticing it because once you hear it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. They can't let the first wife go because that is going to play a far bigger role than perhaps just a backstory.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
But holy shit though, book 6 has to wrap up some threads because he can't do that all in the last book.
Right.
He needs
that has to happen.
He needs to kill off some characters.
Yeah, he does.
I'm pretty sure he will.
Yeah.
So, do you agree he's going to kill off a good amount of characters in book 6 so he could focus strongly on a certain few characters in book 7?
Yeah, I think it's like it starts off like a thin story, then blows up and gets thick, and then it narrows down at the end. So I think the characters that we saw in book 1, for the most part, that aren't dead yet, they're gonna be the shining focus of book 7.
I agree. Good stuff, man. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much to my awesome panelists. First Lady Tauriel, who had to leave a little early. She is awesome. Her channel is awesome. So, guys, make sure you subscribe. Also, Miss Martin Muses, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at Miss Martin Muses on YouTube, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. You can also find me on Twitter, Teresa2_Martin.
Thank you very much. And Stig Kenobi.
Oh, just a tiny YouTube thing. I just put stuff on it just to have some, because all of a sudden I had a lot of subs. I just figured, shit, there should be something there at least, right? So there's a lot of Mentos commercials and retro shit.
I love it.
And other than that, I'm on this channel when I'm awake. And I'm on OG Star Wars' channel on Thursdays talking about old Star Wars comics. We're going through the old, they're called the Republic comics, but we reached the Clone Wars period.
Oh, cool.
That thing. And if you like, actually it's working, you'd like this because it ties so well into everything. It ties into the books and ties into the movies.
Mm-hmm.
The synergy is Game of Thrones-ish.
Oh, really? What is it now? Exactly. What am I going to start reading with?
Oh boy.
Oh,
they're big.
I don't know. It's 157 books and about 1,000 comics.
Oh no, I get that. What I'm saying is a lot of people tell me to start with A Shadow of the Empire. Is that where you?
Yeah. That one is a standalone. Um,
But I like the inclusion stuff. I like the stuff that weaves.
Yeah. Start with the Thrawn trilogy. That's pretty much the best starting point for everything, I guess.
I'm going to start reading.
The standalone Kenobi book, I think, is one of the best Star Wars books ever written. It's about Ben Kenobi's. He's trying to decompose his Jedi self while going into exile. It reads like a Western, almost like Unforgiven.
Oh, right. So he's trying to stay out of quarrels, not to show himself too much. Okay.
Exactly. And he's trying to and it's also a very psychological book. So I think if you really like Game of Thrones because of the POV and stuff like that, I think you'd like the Kenobi book most of all.
I'm gonna have to check it out, man.
There's no deep plot or anything. It's not complex, but it's different from everything else.
Well, I definitely will check that out, brother. Thank you very much. Stig, always thank you so much. I know you stay up late to jump on here, so I appreciate it.
No, I got up early.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Thank you to everybody for being here tonight. Everybody in the chat, new faces and old. I appreciate you guys so much. And for my channel members, this one is for you guys. And for us, we're going to put a spork in it because we are done.